Who is this?
This is my mother.
Who is this?
This is my mom.
Do you work?
I just graduated college.
And you?
I have my own business.
What kind of business?
It's a secondhand store that sells home interiors and clothing.
Okay. How long have you been in that business?
Just 4 months.
And what kind of work does your mother do?
My mother's retired.
From what?
It's an electric company.
You think your mother ever had a fist fight with anybody?
Yes, I do.
You do? You think your mother ever had a fist fight with anybody?
She has not.
Right?
Right, it's not.
Ridiculous, right?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Did you ever have a fist fight with anybody?
Yes, I have.
Really?
Yes.
How many times?
One time, someone came to my house to fight me.
How long ago?
25 years ago.
Okay. One time. I don't understand girls having fights.
My mother had a fist fight.
Sorry, Bert, I don't care. Yeah, I'm sure your mother's a nice lady. I don't
She
understand.
is.
I don't understand ladies having fists. I don't understand men having fist fights, but you know, they're men, so you sort of understand it. But I don't understand women.
Yes, having fights.
Nurturers. Caregivers.
Yes.
Pulling hair, scratching eyes, using their... I don't understand that. You agree?
Yes, I agree.
So, it is your claim that the defendant had you falsely arrested twice for various acts, and the second time was for violating a protective order that she had against you. The defendant has a cross-complaint. The defendant's cross-complaint is that you assaulted her and caused her to lose a contact lens, so you both want lots of money from the other for emotional distress and this loss of your freedom and the filing of false charges against you. Those charges were subsequently dismissed after a trial.
Yes.
Okay. How do you know each other?
I met Taquana through a mutual friend.
What started the problem between the two of you?
Taquana is just a bad person. I was around her only for about 2 months, and the type of person she is just, she's a bad person. She does bad things. She's very argumentative.
So you didn't like her?
Yeah, and I decided I didn't want to be around her. And while she was still friends with the friend that we met through, I even told Taquana, like, well, since you're around her and I'm around her, we're going to get along, just like that. And the last time I had seen Taquana was probably like the beginning of June of 2003, and didn't see her again to September 9th, September 10th at a nightclub. And I seen her with her cousin. I went up to her cousin, because Taquana and her cousin, they just started being back friends.
Listen to me.
Okay.
I have other cases to do.
Okay,
today. Let's get to it.
Okay, well, I said something to Taquana's cousin, and evidently her cousin said something to her.
So you said something negative
I
about
really didn't say. I'll tell you what I said. When I was seeing her cousin, I went to her, I gave her a hug, and I told her, I was like, if you need a friend to hang around, I will hang around you. You do not have to hang with Taquana. Taquana is a bad person.
So you said negative things about her?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. On September 10th, the night that I seen her, Taquana called like 3:40 in the morning, left me this crazy, terrible message telling me that she's going to handle me, she's going to come to my house, she's going to see me, this and that, and she's going to call me early in the morning. At 8:40 in the morning, she also called me and told me that she's going to come over to my house and handle me. And I have the recording right here if you would like to hear it. Brace yourself.
Saved message.
Okay, just stop. Stop. Stop the tape. Make it lower, Bird, so that, because it probably is distorting the sound, so that I can hear it. I got the gist of it. Why would you call her and leave that kind of a message?
Because Sandy had been slandering my name to relatives as well as...
What had she been saying about you that you heard?
She had been saying that I give oral sex, I will steal your man, I will steal your money, I'm a bad person, just all types of things about my character that were false.
So?
So, I was...
You think that a message like that says that you're a good person?
No, it doesn't.
You think it says that you are a genteel person?
I think that that type of message would just lead somebody to believe that I was highly upset.
Well, we're going to get her, because that's what you said.
Yes,
in the
I was.
messages. That's what you said in
I
the
didn't say
message.
that I was going to get her.
Well, pretty much.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She was choking me, said, I'm going to choke the out of you. I'm going to kill you. I punched Sandy back a few times or so, trying to keep her off me. It was just basically hitting on me.
Fight.
Yeah.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Mary Sandy Saturday says Taquana Colvin had her falsely arrested for assault. Taquana claims Sandy beat her up and threatened her life.
She called you and she left a nasty message. What's next?
Okay, when she filed a false charge against me for, she said I was stalking her. This was like on March 10th.
Let me see what she filed against you.
And that's how my mother got involved.
Well, it says that, did she assault you in September of 2003?
Yes.
How?
Sandy called me back at my cousin's house, and we talked, and she stated at that time that she didn't want to fight me, and she was tired of arguing with me. And so at that time I asked Sandy, what will it take for you to stop?
That is the whole
No.
story.
Listen to me.
Okay,
Say nothing.
okay.
Go ahead.
What will it take for you to stop slandering my name and talking about me constantly? And I suggested, if I give you back your $50 for the 50-cent concert ticket, would that settle the dispute?
Why were you going to give her back the $50? Had she given you $50 and you didn't give her the ticket?
Yes, she had, I gave her the ticket, actually. She had gave me, before we went on a summer vacation together, I purchased a set of 3 tickets. One was for Mary, one was for another person, and one was for myself. And we went on the summer vacation where Sandy and this other woman started being really mean to me. So by the time that I returned to Cincinnati, I had pretty much decided that I was going to end the relationship with Mary and her friend, and that they were not going to the concert with me. I had purchased them on my credit card, and what I wanted to do was just reimburse them for their money and take other people. And Mary agreed.
That was September
10th.
10th.
So I went over to her house.
What time?
Almost noon.
Okay.
When I stepped up on the curb, Mary appeared at the door. She ran out of her house and ran down the steps, and she approached me. She asked me, what the do you have to say now? And I stated, I don't have anything to say to you. I'm coming over here, and before I could finish my sentence, she punched me in the forehead.
And then what happened?
And she continued punching me. She started choking me. I was pushing Mary back by her shoulders, constantly asking her to stop fighting me. She was choking me, said, I'm going to choke the hell out of you. I'm going to kill you. Basically, I punched Sandy back a few times or so, trying to keep her off me. I turned and I ran across the street, and she chased me across the street and grabbed me by the back of my hair. It was just basically hitting on me.
Fight.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me your interpretation of the events of September 10th.
I never called Taquana. I never spoke with Taquana. I haven't had a conversation with Taquana since probably the end of May. About around 12 o'clock or whatever, ritual, I go to the gym around that time. I come out my house, and Taquana's sitting in her car waiting for me. And I walked down the stairs, and we just started fighting. But you didn't hear the rest of this tape. The tape is crazy, and it's just crazy. And the police, I did call the police because I live on a cul-de-sac, and Taquana and some girl kept riding on the adjacent street from me. And I sat on my porch and waited.
And you were arrested as a result of...
I was arrested 12 days later, the first time.
But for this incident?
For
this incident on September 10th?
Yeah, I was arrested on September 22nd.
Can I see the paperwork you have, please?
Okay. This is for assault. This is the dismissal for the TPO, and this is the acquit for the violating the protection order.
Yeah, well, it says on September 18th. Not September 10th. It says it's September 18th. Was there another argument on September 18th?
No.
No, it's obviously
They got this all
incorrect.
wrong.
She had did this to other people in 2003 too. So since she done did it to so many people, they probably got mixed up.
Well, maybe I'll ask that question. Maybe it will be in this other report. Have you been cited for any other assault in 2003?
No, ma'am.
Yes, she has. Right here.
You sure? Before I look at any other document, Ms. Colvin.
I totally forgot about that, but I didn't have to go to court on it.
Can I see it, please? That's not what I
They just drove
asked
us
you.
to the police. Yes, ma'am.
And this
Well,
fight
let me ask you
in
a
2000.
Yes, you certainly have. How many times have you been cited for assault?
I believe that just two leading up to that situation.
It's fair to say that you have a problem with your temper.
I don't have a problem with my temper.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Mary Sandy Saturday says she was arrested because of false charges Taquana Colvin made to police.
How many times have you been taken into custody for assault,
None.
with the exception of this time?
Yeah, with the exception of that one. Can I say something? Including myself, two other people filed protection orders against Taquana in 2003.
And they were
Can I
dismissed.
see them, please?
They all for the same thing.
Can I see them, please?
No, that's not true.
Can I
Let's
speak,
take a look.
Judge?
What?
Can I speak?
Sure.
Okay. Ma'am, Sandy is saying that Taquana does all this and all that. This has been a big ongoing thing with our cousin.
Listen to me. I have a
Yes.
Yes.
who sought a protective order against you.
The ex-boyfriend.
I don't care, but he sought a protective order.
Okay.
I have a...
Yes, and they were both dismissed.
They were both dismissed.
Listen to me. You have a temper. I just heard it.
Okay.
Okay, so I have one incident
Okay.
here that caused this protective order. It was ultimately dismissed.
Yes, but-
Okay, now let's get to the second one. The second cause of action that you have is that these two ladies came to your place of business and you told your boss that there was a protective order because there was a temporary protective order in place. He asked you to leave. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you did leave.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you filed a violation of the temporary protective order.
Yes, ma'am. Can I tell you what happened?
Sure.
When we-
No. I want her to tell me what happened.
I left the bar manager,
How many bars are there in Cincinnati?
many.
So how
Name it.
do you think it came about that you chose the one where she was employed to go into with your mother?
It's not that I chose the one that she was employed at. I live on that street. My business is on that street, and I attend that bar several times a week. Mary chose to get a job at that bar knowing that I had already been living on that street, had already been owning a business on that street. She got the job. Did she have proof of how long she had been working at that bar?
Just a second. Don't ask me. You're showing your temper, honey.
Okay.
I'm going to just let you go. You're going to bury yourself.
Down.
On what basis do you claim that she violated the protective order?
Before the bar manager came over to ask me if I had a restraining order against her or whatever, I agreed. I told him, yes, I did have a temporary restraining order against her. He said, okay, that's fine. When you finish with your drink, would you please leave? I said, sure, I will leave when I'm finished with my drink.
Why didn't you just leave?
Because I was in the middle of my drinks as well. I was with
When
my
you
relatives.
file a protective order against somebody, that
I was
means...
there first, Your Honor.
Be quiet. Be quiet.
When you file a protective order against someone,
Yes.
Miss Colvin, it
Yes,
means
ma'am.
that you're afraid of them, right?
Supposedly, yes.
What do you mean supposedly yes?
That you're supposed to be afraid of this person. Yes.
Right. So
But I was with my...
Sit down. So I would assume that when you filed, since you say you're a normal person,
Right.
that when you filed a protective order against her, you filed it because you were afraid of her.
Right.
Well, then, I wouldn't wait till I finished my drink, even though I was there first. I would say to my mother, I don't want there to be any trouble. Let's go. You, on the other hand, decided to stay because you were there first. and your store is on that street,
No, ma'am.
and you had a right to be. Well, that's what you just told me,
No.
so I was there first.
I was there first, but I was going to leave like the bar manager asked me when I
He
finished
shouldn't
my
have to
drink.
ask you.
Okay.
Don't you understand what I just said? He shouldn't have to ask you,
Because
madam.
I'm supposed to be afraid, right?
Let me tell you something. I believe that she filed these protective orders against you, and I believe she filed them maliciously. And I believe she knew about filing protective orders because she had already been served with a few herself in her lifetime, so she knew exactly what kind of trouble you could get into. Now, is the assault that you are claiming the assault when you went over to give her back her $50? That's your counterclaim, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, that's baloney. Because that girl whose foul, fresh mouth left 2 messages on that machine did not go over to make peace the next day. No way. So your counterclaim is dismissed.
Yes, ma'am.
And I believe that she did file these cases against you maliciously. You were ultimately fired from your job. You're seeking $3,000 in damages. Now, my question to you is, do you believe that you acted appropriately in all of your dealings
I
with the
acted very
defendant?
appropriately.
Okay. Put your hand down. Better teach your daughter a little self-control. She needs it. Tell me about your job. When did you lose your job?
Let me tell you what they did. When they talking about they was going to just leave after the drink, no, they put up a fight to stay in the bar. They put up a fight. And
What did they say?
They was talking to the manager, talking about it's a public place. They had the right to come and drink this and this and that. And I get to work at 6 o'clock. About 7:15, they were still in there. And then 3 police officers came to my job, got me from out the bar, and arrested me. Taquana told them I threatened to kill her.
You mean at the bar?
At the bar.
Can I
And
say-
then a few days later, or the next day, her and her mother, she get it from her mother. She get it from her mother. Her and her mother requested a meeting with the bar manager and the owner to get
Is that
me
when
fired.
you were fired 3 days later?
Yes.
But you were removed from the bar by the police.
I was physically removed and arrested.
What?
She was removed from the bar because she went back by the register and turned around and faced me and my party and did this, and at the same time said that you were dead.
You shouldn't have been there.
Yes, ma'am.
You were annoying her.
Okay.
You and your mother. And whoever else you were with. You had no right to be there. Saturday is seeking compensation for having her falsely arrested and for losing her job in the amount of $3,000. I'm awarding her $3,000.
Thank you.
You better learn to watch yourself. Your counterclaim's dismissed.
Yes, ma'am.
Judge for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000.
Thank you.
That's all.
Everything that girl said was a lie. Everything. Her life is a lie.
We don't want Mary to call our house or even be, talking about her in the street. She wanted the money. That's all she wants. She needs to let it go.
This should be the end of it.
Her mother is the devil. She's the devil advocate. I'm grown. I didn't bring my mother into this. She brought my mother into this because she made false charges against my mother, too.
She knew that I was coming over there like we agreed on the telephone, and I was approaching the building to give her the money.
Taquana got what she deserves. She has done this to other people.
To your complaint, you believe that she owes you some money for some loans that were made a year ago by you.
Yes, ma'am.
And also, more recently, that she had a hissy fit about something and threw a potted plant at your car, causing some damage.
Yes.
Ms. Kelly says that while you were generous to her over the course of your relationship, there were never any loans, and she has no clue as to what you're talking about with regard to damaging your car. Who is this person, Ms. Kelly?
This is my boyfriend now.
Does he have any particular knowledge of this case?
He does. He
About
was, what? Basically, when we had broken off the engagement, Dan had become very upset with the whole thing, and he had come to my house making threats, trying to get into my house, and he was there. And
well, that has nothing to do with this case.
Right. So basically,
Basically, he's just here as eye candy.
Whatever.
What's the matter? Isn't that right?
I candy.
All right. When were you and Miss Kelly engaged?
We were engaged on January 5th, 2004.
For how long?
We were engaged until February 20th of 2004.
And when were these loans, Mr. Cruz?
Loans were done at various times throughout the relationship.
Mr. Cruz,
Yes.
let's get to the biggies.
Sure.
Let's try this. Nothing under $100. I have a $100 threshold that I'm going to hear, sir.
I can guarantee there's nothing under $100, Your Honor.
Perfect.
Okay.
Give me the date and give me what it was for.
Okay. The first one, Your Honor, was for rent that I paid for in May of 2003.
And how much was that,
That
sir?
was for $400.
Tell me the conversation that took place.
The conversation?
Yes.
Okay. I asked her, I said, do you have the money for the rent? And she said she did not have the money for the rent. And she asked if I could front it for her. I said, sure, I'd be willing to do that, but you're going to have to pay me back.
Okay. Now, do you remember that May of 2003?
I did not receive my check through the mail yet, and he did propose to, like, not lend me the money, but to pay for my portion of it.
Okay. Miss Kelly, let's stop there. You say your check didn't come in the mail.
Right.
What check are we talking about?
My disability check.
How much did you get from disability?
I get about $1,000 a month.
What's the nature of your disability?
Mentally have stress, a lot of stress. Basically, I was fired from a previous job for sexual harassment, and from that, it caused me a lot of damage. And so I went to see, I was going to fight against them and sue them.
All right, so you received Social Security disability. Do you still?
Actually, no. As of a few weeks ago, no.
Now, your check hadn't arrived yet. So you must have said to Mr. Cruz, my check hasn't come yet. My check hasn't come yet. Can you front the money for me?
I don't even think I went as far as asking him that. It was, you know, he paid for a lot of things for me.
No, I don't want to hear a lot of things. Listen, I'm a very organized person. We're talking about May of 2003 and your rent. And your rent. So if you were accustomed to paying your rent out of your disability check and your check was late, the common sense would be, can you pay the rent, and when my check comes, I'll give it back to you. That's common sense. I mean, that's what one would think of what was said.
Correct.
Right. And?
And
you paid the $400, your share of the rent. Did you ever get your check?
Yeah.
Did you give him back the $400?
I've tried, and he would not accept it because he said that he didn't want it.
Okay. Now, when was the next loan you made to her, sir?
December of 2003. I loaned her money for a couple of sets of car repairs, actually. First repair was December 18th of 2003. That was for $227.
Right.
The other one was December 20th, 2003. That was for $180.
Any other loans, sir?
In January 2004, there was money that I loaned her for medical expenses. I had gotten back from a cruise, okay, so I took her to the urgent care. The cost for that was $237. She did not have the money to pay it. I told her once again I would loan her the money for the $237, but that she'd have to pay me back for that as well.
And those are the loans you're talking about?
There's also one more loan. I'm sorry I neglected to bring it up. It was in August of 2003.
Okay.
It was also for repairs for her car, okay, and that was for $281.68.
And you want to tell me about the damage to your car, sir?
January 19, 2004, I was on my way to work. First Monday back from the cruise. On the way to work, I was rear-ended by a lady. At the time, the car was still drivable, okay, but I knew I was going to have to take it into the shop, but knowing that it was going to be in there for at least a week or so, I didn't take it right away. January 23rd, she and I had an argument. She got upset with me. She went outside. My car was parked in front of her house. She took a potted plant. She broke it on my car. Now, I had made an insurance claim on the damage that the other lady caused me. However, I didn't make an insurance claim on what she had caused because I didn't want there to be any type of legal recourse against her as far as
Because you were
criminal.
engaged.
Right.
And you stayed engaged for another month.
That's correct.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She looked at it, she said, I'm sorry. She said, but you are lucky. I meant to put it through your windshield. I don't have pictures, but I do have the pieces of the pot that she broke on it.
You think that I'm going to look at the pieces
Well, I
of the
didn't
pot
know.
without pictures of the car? Mr. Cruz,
And later today,
what kind of car do you drive, sir?
88 Olds Delta.
And one of your wheels fell off, is that right?
I had just put them on and I was driving around the block. And I went to go hit my brakes and then the wheel just came off.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Daniel Cruz says ex-fiancée Shannon Kelly owes for unpaid loans and for smashing a potted plant on top of his car.
Okay, let's hear about the potted plant, madam.
I don't know what he's talking about, actually. We fought all the time.
So you mean he's making this story up?
Or if somebody else did it, I don't. He never wait. I mean.
No.
I don't know what he's...
Anything else you want to tell me?
Yes, that this is not true. With the car repairs, he called me and said that he had a surprise for me, that he had recovered some funds that he wasn't aware of, and that he wanted to get my car out. And I said no, I didn't want to. I'd rather pay for it myself, and he insisted. Okay, he decided to do that. When I did get my check, again, I did give him back $200 because I didn't want anything from him.
Why didn't you want anything from him?
Because he would use it against me and throw it up to me and make me feel terrible in fights.
What kind of work do you do, sir?
I'm a branch manager for a finance company.
Are you currently employed, Miss Kelly?
No.
And how do you support yourself? On disability?
I was up until recently, so now I'm going to find a job.
Do you live with this gentleman here?
Yes, I do.
Do you work?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a carpenter.
Okay. Here's your problem, Mr. Cruz. Of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loans that you've made to her over the course of a 6 or 7 month period, she had not made any payments. Is that right?
That is correct.
That's not a loan. That's what you give to your girlfriend. I find that it's unreasonable to believe that if, in fact, this engagement came to fruition and developed into a marriage, that we wouldn't be standing here today. Right?
Well, that's...
Not well.
Not necessarily.
Well, not necessarily. I'm telling you that if you and Miss Kelly married, we would not be standing here today. You're angry. She didn't give you a lot of money. You gave her a lot of money. I mean, altogether, it doesn't amount to a whole lot of money over the course of a relationship that spanned a couple of years. But those aren't loans. Loans get repaid. Even marginally, they get repaid. And anybody who's... You're in finance?
Yes.
Doesn't loan more money when the first loan hasn't been paid, and doesn't loan money for a third time when the first 2 loans haven't been paid, and doesn't loan money for the 4th time when the first 3 loans haven't been paid. Because if you do that, you're soon going to be out of business. Unless you're operating from your heart, because you're involved in a relationship. And then it no longer becomes an arm's length contract. It becomes a situation where, well, if the relationship works out, so it's over. But if it doesn't, I don't want to be out this money. So, Mr. Cruz, get over it. Let me see pictures of the car where she dropped the potted plant. What's in that box?
Unfortunately, Your Honor, I don't have pictures, okay? And the reason being for that is because she called me the next day, and she apologized to me for doing it. And when I went to her house, I showed her what she had done to the car. She didn't realize it. And she looked at it, she said, "I'm sorry." She said, "But you are lucky. I meant to put it through your windshield." And I said, "Well, if you put it through the windshield, it probably would have cost less." I don't have pictures, but I do have the pieces of the pot that she broke on it. That's what's in the box.
You think, sir, that that I'm going to look at the pieces of the pot without pictures of the car? Mr. Cruz.
Yes.
And she called you up and she apologized. Let me ask you this question, Mr. Cruz. Between the 23rd of January, when she caused this damage to your car, is that what you told me?
Yes.
Okay. And February 20th of 2004, you were in fact engaged. Is that right?
Yes.
Were you intimate during that period?
Yes.
You forgave her.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today...
When you have no money in the bank, you have to be an idiot to spend $900 on wheels for an old car.
You can say that.
I am saying that. What I want to hear is you saying it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Daniel Cruz says ex-fiancée Shannon Kelly owes for unpaid loans and for smashing a potted plant on top of his car.
You forgave her, sir. She feels as if you forgave her. I feel as if you forgave her. You got to put a period and say, I'm moving on. And whatever money it was, it's a cheap lesson. And I'm very, very lucky that I didn't hook my wagon to this star, which would have caused you in the long run in your life, Mr. Cruz, far greater damage. You could have done the absolutely unthinkable and stupid thing to have married this lady.
True.
Right?
Right? That's true.
Instead, this gentleman's going to marry her. That's going to be his problem.
Let him deal with it.
Right? Right.
Yeah, let him deal with it.
That's all. Good luck, sir.
Yeah.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
getting hers now. I mean, you can see with what she's with and what she's doing now, which is nothing, and what she'll always become in her life is nothing.
Basically, he just wants to, you know, demolish whatever life that I do have.
She was cheating on me with the gentleman she brought in the courtroom today.
He was trying to commit suicide a couple times over me. He even was put into the hospital for 4 days in the mental institution for throwing me across the room and bruising my tailbone.
Look out for freeloaders like this one over here. She's going to cost you a lot of money, cost you a lot of heartache, and she laughs over here, but I'm going to get the last laugh when I see what her life has become.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Leiferman versus Lux. Step forward, please.
26-year-old homemaker Angela Leiferman is suing motorist 19-year-old Stanley Lux for car repair costs. Angela says she was hit by a wheel that fell off Stanley's vehicle.
Bird, you remember elementary school? You know what we used to call that in elementary school? A visual aid.
That's right.
So this is a visual aid, and what I gather from your complaint is you were parked where?
Number 3.
And what were you doing on 108th Street?
I was driving to my mom's house.
Were you driving or were you parked?
This is a stoplight, and I was stopped at a red light.
And according to what I read in your complaint, your car got hit with a wheel, car wheel.
Right.
You can step back now. And that wheel belonged to a car that belonged to the defendant.
Yep.
And you want him to pay for the damage because his wheel came off.
Exactly.
Is that easy?
Right.
Right. Can I see the damage to your car?
Okay.
Were you frightened when it banged into your car?
Extremely. My 3-month-old son was in the vehicle with me, so I was nervous.
Okay, Mr. Lux?
Yep.
What kind of car do you drive, sir?
A 88 Olds Delta.
And one of your wheels fell off, is that right?
Yes.
Had you just put these wheels on?
Yes.
Did you put them on?
Yes.
Yourself?
Myself.
So I would like you to tell me, and Officer Bird would like to know why you're not responsible for the damage to her car.
Okay. First off, where she was parked, I got pictures. She was parked in a turning lane. It wasn't a light nowhere near. The light was up further. So I know she wasn't parked at a light.
Okay,
you know?
So the first thing that you say, and I read your answer, is that she was parked in a place she shouldn't have been.
She shouldn't have been parked.
Okay. And what's your second defense, Mr. Lux?
And then, I mean, she just wasn't supposed to. I mean, she was parked. I mean, from my understanding, you know what I'm saying? Because I didn't even know, you know what I'm saying, that their wheel was going to fall off. Just like naturally, anybody wouldn't know that their wheel was going to fall off. I had just put them on and I was driving around the block, just around the corner, just to make sure that they was on right. And in the process, I was riding down the hill and I went to go hit my brakes and then the wheel just came off.
So let me try to see if I can translate this into a language that we all commonly understand. That he had put the wheels on his car and he was driving around to see if he had put them on good.
Yeah.
Or well.
All the
Good,
way.
no, correct. I said that we all commonly understand.
I got you.
And you didn't put them on.
Well.
Because one of them fell
off.
So I guess that answered your question.
Yeah.
I still don't understand how that is a defense, sir, except that you were doing a test run to see if you had done a good job, and you did a bad
job.
Mr. Lux, you don't look like a bad young man. Do you work?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do, sir?
Inventory.
And did you pay a lot of money for these wheels?
Yes.
How much did you pay for them?
Roughly around $800 or $900.
And who do you live with, sir?
Right now, I stay with my grandmother.
Do you pay her rent?
No.
Do you have a bank account?
Yes.
How much money do you have in the bank account?
Not that much, Your Honor.
Okay. Let's talk about priorities.
Mm-hmm.
You know what that means?
Yes.
When you have no money in the bank and you're living off somebody else, like you're living off of your grandmother, and you have a job, you have to be an idiot to spend $900 on wheels for an old car.
You can say that.
I am saying that. What I want to hear is you say that.
I mean, is it...
No, I really want to hear you say that.
But I don't feel
really
like
want to
though.
hear you say, if I had a spare $900, I would give it to my grandmother. give her $200 a month to say, Grandma, I know I'm a growing boy, I eat a lot, you know, and I use the phone, and I use gas and electric, and I want to contribute to the household, because that's what grown-ups do. Grown-ups don't live off other people and then spend $900 on rims for an old car.
Well, I really wasn't, you know what I'm saying, staying with her. Matter of fact, when was this, March 31st?
Right.
Yeah, well, I was staying with her at the point in time, you know what I'm saying, in March and stuff. But prior to that, I did have my own place, and I was paying my own bills, you know what I'm saying? And it got rough for me then because I had lost my job. So I did have to move.
Where'd you get the $900 for the wheels?
I say it was in my account. That's what I do. I save my money. But you know what I'm saying, because that's something I deserve, that I should, I wanted.
You wanted it.
That's what I wanted.
You wanted it even more than you wanted to pay rent.
To me, rent is irrelevant. You know what I'm saying? What does rent have to do with that?
Rent is irrelevant. I understand.
What does rent have to do with
I understand that.
rent?
Mr. Lux, let me explain something to you. I'm going to put you out of your misery, sir. You had an accident with your car. Your car, because of your negligence in putting on these wheels improperly, fell off and damaged the plaintiff's car to the tune of $944. That's what you have to pay. $944. Whether she was parked in a no parking zone, whether she was parked halfway to Pluto, it's irrelevant. Your car caused her car damage because of your negligence. You have to pay for that.
I understand it.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $944.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
The officer just took his information, and that was it. I don't think he even gave him a ticket for it.
I test drove the car just like I would do any other car to see if they was on tight, and come to find out, one of them wasn't on tight.
First, I just heard a loud noise, and then the first thing I saw was the defendant's vehicle kind of skidding down the street.
It was crazy. Y'all, I was scared too. I ain't even gonna lie. I was scared. I ain't know what was going on. I seen kids outside.
Next thing I saw was the wheel coming towards me.
With this case, at least to try to explain it to Bird, who I know is going to pay very, very careful attention to the players. Mr. Lamphere, it is your claim, along with your wife, this is your wife, that you made a loan to Mr. Chance. I don't know about his wife, but certainly to Mr. Chance in the amount of $2,000. Mr. Chance says that this was not a loan, but a gift, and he is counterclaiming because he says that because he had a relationship with your wife, she decided to be vindictive and call his wife and his children and saying all kinds of nasty things about him. So he's counterclaiming for defamation of his otherwise pure character and slander. Right?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay. So what I gather is the two of you were not married.
Right.
Mr. Chance was separated from his wife.
That is correct, Your Honor.
What's your first name?
Mildred.
Mildred and
Terry.
Terry sort of got together.
Yes.
For a brief period of time.
Yes.
Before you and
George
got married. At some point, you needed money for a car.
Basically, yes.
And George gave you the money for the car.
No. The money did come from George. Millie is the one that got the money from George.
You had no contact with George.
Yes, at the time when when I received the money, it did come from George, yes. Millie had set it up.
I don't care who set it up.
That's what I'm trying to explain.
You got the $2,000 from George.
Yes.
And you say George gave you that money as a gift.
Yes.
Okay, George, tell me how that money came about.
Okay. Mildred and Terry come out the house. Mentioned that he needed some money to buy a car because their car was broke down. And she backed out of the whole picture.
Who backed out?
Mildred.
What do you mean she backed out?
She said it's up to you if you want to loan him the money.
Okay. How did you know, Terry?
That's not true.
Terry?
Yes, ma'am.
You'll have a chance.
Okay.
He was a co-worker with my wife now.
When were you married, by the way?
February 28th.
Now, what discussion, Mr. Lamphere, did you have with Terry regarding this $2,000?
He was cashing in his 401k, plus his income tax return was coming back. and he wanted to borrow it for 2 weeks, 3 at the most.
And that's what he told you?
Right.
He told you that, not Mildred. He told you that. And where did you get the money from?
Out of my checking account.
And do you remember the date when you gave it to him?
Yeah, March 1st.
When did you first ask him for the money back?
Oh, it was probably 4 weeks into it, 3 weeks.
Did you ask him or did Mildred?
Neither one of us really asked him.
Well, what happened?
He had informed Dee up at the bar one night.
This lady in the green?
Ladies.
Step up. Just a second. Tell me your name.
Doreen Daig.
Miss Daig, you work together with these people?
No, I frequent the bar where they were employees.
And did there come a time when you had a conversation about this $2,000?
Yes, he came up to the table I was sitting at on a Friday night and asked me if George and Millie were coming into the bar that night. And he told me that if I should see them or talk to him, to tell George he had something for him.
Did you see them that day?
No, I did not. I called her the next morning and informed her what he had told me the night before.
Okay. Do you remember that conversation?
I remember speaking to her. It was about getting the message to George that I wanted to talk to him.
That you wanted to talk to him,
Yes.
not that she says you said you had something for him.
I didn't say I had anything for him.
Okay. But that you wanted to speak to George.
Yes.
Well, what did you want to speak to George about?
I wanted to speak to George.
Look at me. Don't look over there.
I wanted to speak to George about the lawsuit papers that my wife had received.
The lawsuit papers?
The small claims papers.
Oh, so they had already sued you for this $2,000.
Right, and what my main question was is why they were going after my wife.
Okay. So you hadn't had any prior discussion prior to being served with the papers with George about anything?
None whatsoever.
Okay, so you were surprised.
Very.
Why were you surprised, sir?
Because we had, I was seeing Millie,
look over
I was
here.
seeing Millie in a relationship.
No, you're looking up at the ceiling.
I know.
I want you to take your eyes and fix them on mine.
It's stress. Sorry, Your Honor.
No, that's not.
Eye contact.
That's.
All righty. I had a relationship with Millie prior to her marriage. She was engaged, supposed to be breaking off the engagement. Things started to get a little out of hand.
Why did you want to talk to George, sir? Why did you tell Miss Daig that you wanted to speak to George?
Because I wanted to know why they were suing me and my wife when nothing was said about that money, about repaying it, about owing it, nothing.
Why would George give you $2,000?
Because Millie's the one that got it out of him.
Well, sir, is that what you wanted to tell George?
I eventually did tell George that.
When did you tell George that, sir?
My main reason for wanting to talk to George was why they were suing my wife. Because my wife had nothing to do with it whatsoever. My wife don't even know these people. Mm-hmm. And she has been put through hell and high water and back because of all this.
So you mean they should have sued you?
Yeah, I was the party involved.
Well, that might be a legitimate question.
And I had said to George when I did see him the next day, I said to him,
So the next day, you saw George?
I believe it was.
Good. Tell me about the conversation that you had with him the next day. Tell me what he said to you and what you said to him.
I'll tell you exactly what was said. I said, why are you trying to sue my wife and sue me? He goes, I have nothing to do with it. That's on Millie. Is his exact words.
And you said?
I left.
Didn't say anything else, did you?
I said I left. I went to my attorney.
When did you have the next conversation with him?
I don't believe there was any after that.
Well, according to you, that's a lie, sir. According to your answer, that's not true. According to your answer, you had another conversation with him that you haven't told me about.
Okay. Can you refresh my memory?
Shouldn't have to, but I will. I decided that George should know who the woman he married really was. I went to their house and told them about the affair, which he said he had an idea something was going on with us. I also told him about Millie's plan to divorce him. When I did that, Millie started yelling and punching me. Mm-hmm. That was something I would remember.
That was prior, Your Honor. That was prior to that conversation about the lawsuit.
Just a second. What I said to you before was, when was the first time there was any discussion about the repayment of this money? And you said there wasn't. Clearly, that's not true. Clearly, before you got served with a summons, there was a discussion about repaying the money. Because that's when you supposedly, according to you, went to their house. What are you looking at me? Am I speaking a foreign language? Do you speak English?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Millie spoke up, oh, it's your dad's early birthday present, and had made comments that your mom's a worthless and don't know how to take care of you.
George and Mildred Lampier claim Mildred's ex-boyfriend, Terry Chance, and his wife, Irene, owe for an unpaid loan. Terry says his wife has nothing to do with the money.
By the way, I don't really believe you're involved as a defendant in this case, because whatever arrangement was made with your husband.
Yes.
It was a loan. There is absolutely no reason for these people to have given you $2,000. You don't look as if you're that good, sir. Trust me.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
No, listen to me. I listened to you, and you have been unpersuasive in convincing me that these two people made you and the wife that they never met a loan for $2,000 to buy a car. You have been unpersuasive to me. You give your children, maybe, but a stranger, somebody that he knows because his wife-to-be knows you from work, even if she's having a fling with you, it's not a reason to give you $2,000. As I said, you don't look like you're that good. So you owe him $2,000. Now you've got a $4,000 counterclaim. And the $4,000 counterclaim is punitive damages due to slander and defamation. I'm prepared to hear your counterclaim.
Okay. First one being harassment.
No, listen to me. You're supposed to be able to remember what you're suing him for $4,000.
Okay, first one was for harassment, harassing my wife at work, continuous phone calls to my wife at work.
Just a minute, just a second. Who called you at work?
Mildred.
Mildred. And what did she call to say to you?
She kept repeatedly telling me that she was having an affair with my husband, which we were separated.
And was that very distressing to you?
Yes.
Do you think that was as distressing to you as your husband telling her fiancé and her husband that she was no good and she was having an affair with him?
I'm sure it was.
Right. It's the way it goes. When you fool around, you have to accept the consequences. Put your hand down. What's next?
Second thing is when she said to my 12-year-old son when we had stopped at the house when I had the money in my pocket.
What money?
The money, the $2,000.
What do you mean you had it in your pocket?
No.
Shh, I don't.
I'm sorry.
What do you mean you had it in your pocket?
Millie was with me. We had stopped by because the money was in the form of a check, and I had pulled it out of my pocket because I gave my son some money. Okay, my son had asked me where I had gotten the money, and Millie spoke up, oh, it's your dad's early birthday present, and had made comments that your mom's a worthless and don't know how to take care of you. That's when we were out the door.
Just 1 second. Who was out the door?
Me, Millie, and me. I took her out of the house.
So the two of you left together?
Yes.
Did you give her back the money?
What's that?
What word didn't you understand?
I didn't
She had just insulted you and your wife because you were dumb enough to bring her to your home or where your son was in order to give him money that you had just gotten from them. Did you give the money back?
No. If somebody handed you $2,000, said happy birthday, would you give it back?
Your counterclaim is dismissed, Mr. Chance. I would suggest you grow up. How long have you been married?
4 years. We've been together for 12.
He hasn't gotten any better.
Some of it.
Some of it. Not enough. Not enough. If you hitch your wagon to a falling star, eventually you're going to get caught in the mud. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Your counterclaim's dismissed. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. Get him out of here. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Revenge has just begun. Revenge has just begun.
Stayed in a hotel a couple of nights the night before I got married.
Oh, yeah. Before, during, even on our wedding night.
We didn't sleep together because he couldn't perform.
It's far from done and over with.
He told me paybacks are hell.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Panic versus Burke. Step forward.
20-year-old hairstylist Cynthia Panic is suing her ex-boyfriend, 22-year-old psychiatric technician Brandon Burke, for breaking her computer screen. Brandon says he didn't do it.
Ms. Panic, you and Mr. Burke lived together, I assume, for a brief period of time. You told him to move out. When you came home after he moved out, you found that your computer screen was broken. You say that Mr. Burke did it. You want him to pay for it.
Yes, I do.
Mr. Burke says, I didn't do it. So tell me what happened on the 31st of March.
We were going to try and resolve issues, and that night I had come home, and he works from 3 to 11, and normally Wednesday nights, which that was, we went to poker night, and I normally meet him up at work. And that night I didn't, and he called me, and I said that I didn't think we should see each other anymore, and that was basically the whole, it was over the phone. And
were you living together?
Yeah.
So you were telling him to get out?
Yeah.
And where were you when you had this conversation?
I was out with a friend in a Walmart parking lot. I was on my phone.
And he was where?
He was at work or leaving work.
To go where?
Him, I don't know.
Where did you go?
I went to play poker with my friends.
Instead of going home after work at 11 o'clock, you went out to poker night.
Yes.
And when did you get home?
I got home around 2 a.m., ma'am.
And she wasn't home?
No, she wasn't.
So what did you do?
I had called my sister to tell her what happened. My sister showed up at the door, and she came in and talked to me for about 45 minutes.
Yes, ma'am.
And was it your sister who helped you move your things?
It was my sister, her boyfriend, and my brother.
So they all came over very late?
No, they came over that next morning as soon as I woke up.
And when did you come home?
Around 2:30 the next day.
And is this your computer?
This is my computer.
And where is it broken?
It's all like right there. It's all cracked right there, and like all the cracks go down to about there, because it's like when a rock hits a windshield, it like shatters. And now all
And it was okay the day that you left?
It was okay the night that I left. Yeah.
Did anybody else have access to your apartment?
No.
Well,
is not an answer.
I apologize, ma'am. But I did not hit the computer. I didn't touch the computer. As soon as I got home, the computer was sitting on my couch that was there. The only contact I've seen that the computer had with the person was when my sister picked it up and set it on the ground. It was there for the next 24 hours until Cynthia got home around 2:30.
Well, you had your brother, and who else?
My sister's boyfriend and my sister, ma'am.
So there were several people in the house moving out your things. What kind of things did they move out?
We moved out my couch. We moved out my dining table with the chairs.
The couch that you moved out was the couch where that had been placed?
Yes.
So it is possible that one of the other people who were there moving out furniture could have stepped on it, could have knocked it over. Something could have happened when you were moving out these large pieces of furniture.
Well,
That's possible.
Yes, ma'am, it's possible. It was in a secure location where we didn't even have to need to maneuver around it to carry it out. And
well, it would be a fair statement, Mr. Burke, that between the time she left and the computer was okay, and the time that you moved out, something happened to her computer.
Well, it could be possible, but it was closed when I got there, and she's saying that the damage is on the front side of the computer because she said I punched it out of malice intent.
She doesn't know what happened to it.
Yes, ma'am.
She doesn't know. She wasn't there. Now, I believe her when she says that when she left, the computer was intact.
Yes.
I believe that. And I'm not suggesting that you purposely damaged her computer. However, you invited 3 other people into the house for the purposes of moving furniture. And that damage was caused either by you or by your invited guests into the house. And you are responsible for their actions, since you invited them to help you move. So while I'm not ascribing to you punching the computer, I am ascribing to you the cost of fixing it. Because it was either you or your sister or her boyfriend or your brother who, I know that this is not a word, but I love to use it anyway, vertently or inadvertently damaged her computer. Do we understand each other, Mr. Burke?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Now, have you gotten an estimate on getting a new screen?
I do.
And what's the estimate?
It's $649.99 plus labor, so it's like $750.
Let me see. How much was the computer?
$1,112.11.
Okay. Well, I have $649.99.
It says plus labor on it, though.
But we don't know how much that is, right?
Yeah, but...
Did you pay for it?
Pay for it to get fixed? No, I haven't.
No, you didn't pay for it, so you don't know how much it is, how much the labor is. You know that it's $649.99, correct?
Correct.
That's all I have. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $649.99. Thank you.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
We've had arguments in the past. I've punched things, she has punched things.
A lot of jealousy, stuff like that, a lot of fights.
I've flirted with a lot of girls, and she has flirted with a certain individual. It concerned a website that we both was on.
There was a whole thing about him.
Miss Beasley, you weren't there when this accident occurred with your car, is that right?
No.
Your daughter was driving your car or her boyfriend?
It's her car, and he was driving.
Okay. So you're here because you want to get some money for the damage to your car. Why don't you sit down for a moment, and I may ask you to come back. It's your car?
Yes.
How old are you?
16.
So your mother paid for the car?
No, I did.
You did?
Yes.
Good. How much did you pay for the car?
$2,200.
Where'd you get the money from?
I have a job.
And you allowed your boyfriend to drive the car?
I did.
And what date did this accident happen?
March 13th.
What kind of car was it?
A Grand Am.
Did you have insurance?
Yes.
Did you have collision insurance?
I have minimum coverage.
Okay. So who's going to speak for the two of you?
I am.
You were in the passenger seat. Tell me what happened.
We were driving down Troy Street, and as we were driving, we noticed that we had a problem earlier in the evening.
With whom?
Ron.
You know him?
Well, we didn't.
What drew you to his attention if you hadn't seen him before?
He was drag racing with other cars.
Your Honor, that's not true.
We noticed that he was racing other cars, and we thought it was funny, so at the next light we took off, and I guess he was threatened that our car took off faster than his. And once we passed through a light, but he got stuck at the red light, so we went downtown, and we didn't see him downtown after that until we were leaving.
Tell me about it when you saw him again that evening.
He was at a red light when we saw him, and we were approaching the red light. As we were approaching, the light turned green, and we went on through the light, and then he took off, and later down the road, he caught up with us, and he swerved at the car. We realized it was getting...
Your Honor, that...
I don't want to hear you yet. You'll have a chance.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
We realized that it was getting a little too out of control, so we decided that we would go home. And as we were heading home, we realized that he continued to follow us.
Now, Miss Beasley, was your boyfriend driving in a way that your mother wouldn't approve of?
At the beginning of the night, yes.
It's a good thing you said that. Now, did you tell your mother before today that your boyfriend was driving your car in an inappropriate manner?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Is that right? So that now, after you were playing around with him, I don't know what you were doing, you decided that you had enough and you were going home.
Yes.
What happened?
Well, we were driving down Troy, and we turned our left-hand turn signal on to turn onto...
Which are you? Are you pink or green?
We're the pink.
You're making a left-hand turn from the wrong lane.
No, it's a two-way road.
Oh, it's a two-way road?
Yes.
So what you're telling me is he came around and he was going the wrong way on that lane? Is that what you're telling me?
No, he was driving behind us, and as we went to make a left-hand turn, he tried to pass us.
Okay, now let me look at yours. Quite frankly, I'm looking at yours, and you're going to have to explain that to me. She's the pink car, is that
yes.
right?
I'm the green car. I was behind them.
Right.
And they put their left turn signal on under the overpass, and then they got onto the shoulder of the road to make that left-hand turn because they didn't slow down.
Yes.
And he had his left turn signal on. I went to pass, and then he cut across.
Was he drunk?
I couldn't tell you.
Was he cited for being drunk, Mr. Williams?
I couldn't tell you, Your Honor.
Mr. Williams, somebody would have to be either drunk or psychotic for me to attribute the kind of behavior that you have attributed to him, sir. Were you drag racing that night?
No, Your Honor.
I don't believe you.
My mother was sick with bronchitis. I was running to the 24-hour pharmacy for her. I was on my way back home from the downtown area.
Where's your mother?
She's at home.
What time did you go out to the pharmacy for your mother?
8:45, 9 o'clock at night.
And how far is the pharmacy from your house?
A good 15-minute drive.
And what time was this accident? What time was the accident?
Around 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night. It was around about that time.
Well, what were you doing, sir, between 8:45 and 9 o'clock and 10:30? It's an hour and a half. How far is the pharmacy from your house?
Good 15 minutes, 20.
That's what you
20
just
minutes.
told me.
Right.
So what were you doing out at 10:30 at night?
We went to the pharmacy. They said that her prescription wasn't ready. We started heading back, and
Who's
then
we?
that's me and my witness, Richard.
Yes.
We started heading back, and then that's when we seen them on our way back on 31. We stopped at a stoplight. They pulled up. He threw the car in neutral, was revving it up. They were laughing. They thought it was funny. We started driving. He's hitting the gas and the brakes, trying to get me to race him. I rolled down. I had Spud roll down the window, and I told them that I'm not wasting my time on it. So we continued on down the road.
Mr. Williams, this happened at 10:30, an hour and a half later.
Right.
Why didn't you go home and say to your mother, the prescription wasn't ready, so instead of waiting, I came home? That would have brought you home at 9:15.
I don't even know what time. I don't even know if it happened about 10:30. Nobody had a watch or anything. I'm not sure exactly what time it happened, so we're just going on hearsay.
It was that time because when the accident occurred, I called my mom and I did look at the cell phone to see what time it was.
Well, you're not sure, so she's sure. So if you're not sure, she's sure.
That's like taking their word, saying I was racing, and then me not saying
No. I didn't say anything about racing, Mr. Williams.
Okay.
I said to you, if your mother has bronchitis and you're going to the drugstore for her at 8:45 and the drugstore is 15 minutes away, I don't know what you'd be doing out at 10:30 at night without the prescription.
Waiting for it to get done.
Nah.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He wasn't driving crazy, so we wouldn't be here.
I want to explain something to you. You should be driving sufficiently behind him so that you don't hit his car. Do I make myself clear, or do you want me to explain it to you again?
Sure.
Good.
And later today,
I went for an overnight trip. I'm there a week. My mother has to come stay with my son. I'm lucky I had a job when I came back. He's the snowmobiler, not me. This
job.
man...
I'm speaking.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 16-year-old Jennifer Beasley says 18-year-old Ronald Williams owes for crashing into the side of her Pontiac Grand Am. Ronald says the driver, Jennifer's boyfriend, was trying to race him.
Why didn't your insurance company cover this damage?
Because the car was insured for my mother and not for myself.
That's not true.
Shh. So is what you're telling me you're not supposed to be driving that car?
Yes, Your Honor.
So if you're not supposed to be driving the car, Mr. Williams, why were you driving it?
She gave me permission to run to the pharmacy for her.
Listen, if your mother wanted to insure you, it would probably increase her premiums on the car, which is why she chooses not to insure you, which is why she indicates to her insurance company that you will not be driving the car. Right?
Yes, Your Honor.
I wasn't there, so I don't know whose fault it is. All I know is one thing. If you hadn't done the wrong thing by getting behind the wheel of a car that you knew you had no right to get behind, we wouldn't be standing here today because your insurance would have paid for it. Can't
I
do
also
the wrong
believe
thing.
that if he wasn't driving like, I don't know, if he wasn't driving crazy, so we wouldn't be here
I
either.
want to explain something to you. If you're driving right behind him, you should be driving sufficiently behind him so that you don't hit his car. And if he pulls off to the side of the road, you should be driving slowly enough. Slowly, because you said you saw him before and he was trying to drag race you before. Is that what you told me, Mr. Williams? Is that what you told me?
Yes, that's what I told you.
Then if that's what you told me, and if you wanted to avoid a problem, then you're not driving up his behind so that you can't stop your car if he goes off to the shoulder and then makes a quick left turn, which I don't believe. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do I make myself clear, or do you want me to explain it to you again? Clear?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. How much did it cost you to fix the car?
We haven't fixed it yet. We have estimates.
Can I see them, please? Miss Beasley, you could step up now, because I don't want to hear from him because I...
We also have a letter
Don't. I
that
have here's one.
said that the car wasn't insured at all at the time of the accident.
Car wasn't insured at all?
Yes.
How could you be driving a car that's not insured at all?
That's funny because the insurance company sent us a check in the mail because they dropped all the cars and we had to get more insurance on the cars from another company. So the car was insured.
Our letter is from his insurance company.
I have photos also, Your Honor.
Can I see the photos? Sure.
Thank you. That's it? You didn't want to see these?
Yeah, they're right.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, there was no policy enforced on the date of this accident, and the policy has been rescinded. And I have photographs which clearly indicate that you hit them on the driver's side door. Mr. Williams, you've got to do the right thing, sir. If you don't do the right thing, you end up on the short end of the stick, sir. And if you have no insurance, or if the car had insurance but you weren't supposed to be driving, then you shouldn't have been driving. And you weren't so worried about your mother because you went out at 8:45 and you were still trolling around at 10:30 without the prescription. So, judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,602. That's all. Thank you.
Please excuse. You may step out.
Thank you. He rolled the window down and tried to talk to us, and we rolled our window up.
They're hitting the gas, trying to get me to race, roll down their window, and I was like, I'm not wasting my time with you, so.
He's just saying stuff about how he needed to go home and get a different car that was faster.
I feel I have no responsibility. Her boyfriend was driving recklessly, and that's what they get.
I learned my lesson that I'm going to be the only one driving my car.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lesser versus Kaufman. Step forward, please.
Commercial Vehicle Inspector Landis Lesser is suing her ex-boyfriend, contractor Chip Kaufman, for the cost of a helicopter rescue during a snowmobile trip.
Miss Lesser, Mr. Kaufman was your boyfriend, and according to what I read, uncross your arm, sir. According to what I read, you and the defendant decided to go on a snowmobiling vacation, an overnight, last December. You did that, and when you got to around where the campsite was, where you were supposed to spend the night, there was a blizzard, and you got snowed in. You called for a helicopter to rescue you. Helicopter came ultimately and rescued you. You want Mr. Kaufman to pay for the helicopter bill. Mr. Kaufman says he owes you nothing. You decided to call for a helicopter. You called. It just happened to be a helicopter that was being piloted by an ex-boyfriend of yours. He didn't ask you to call for a helicopter. He was just as happy to wait there until the situation resolved itself. You wanted to get out, pay for it, right?
Yes.
If I'm wrong, tell me.
That's it.
On what date in December did you decide to take this snowmobiling excursion?
That would have been on December 26th. Chip had brought up the fact that he wanted to go on this snowmobile trip.
Chip.
And that he was going to call, actually the people in Deadwood are friends of his.
I don't care. You went on the 26th.
Okay, we went on the 27th.
Fine.
He brought it up
27.
Yes.
Okay. And how far did you go?
We rode in 25 miles.
When did it start to snow?
That evening after we got into our cabin and went to bed. When I woke up the next morning, there was a lot of snow. The day that we went in, there was no snow.
Had you called to check on the weather?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
I'm not a snowmobiler. He owns the snowmobiles. He planned this trip. He's like, hey, let's go in.
How old are you?
I am 39 years old.
Miss Lesser, if you're going on a snowmobile trip, in what state is this?
Idaho. I have never been
Idaho.
on a trip.
And it snows a lot in Idaho?
Not like this. I have never seen snow like this.
So what happened on the 28th?
On the 28th, I woke up and I said, Chip, it snowed a lot. He laid in bed. I would say another 45 minutes. He got up and he's like, oh no, it was incredible the amount of snow that they got in that area overnight.
When you slept in the cabin, was there a fire?
Yes.
So you were warm?
Yes.
And did you have food?
Yes, at the lodge they had food.
Good, fine. And when did you finally call for this helicopter?
The date would have been Friday the 2nd of January, 2004.
Okay. And from the 28th when you were there, did you sleep in the cabin?
Yes.
And you had food in the lodge?
Yes.
So there was no emergency?
Correct.
So what made you call the helicopter?
Because it kept snowing and snowing. Chip had a friend, Jeff, that is a hotshot snowmobile rider that they ride together, and he could not make it in to rescue us. The groomer was broke down.
But you were safe in the cabin.
But we've missed a week of work, ma'am, and I have a 15-year-old son.
Well, you both missed a week of work, and so you had to get home for your son. Now, what happened when you said you wanted to call this helicopter? What did Mr. Kaufman say?
We had discussed it after these parties tried to rescue us, and we had both agreed that we would dispatch the helicopter.
And how much was the helicopter?
$1,710.
Okay. And why do you think that he should pay this whole amount, Ms. Lesser?
I went for an overnight trip. I'm there a week. I miss a week of work. My mother has to come stay with my son.
So?
I'm lucky I had a job when I came back.
So?
He's the snowmobiler, not me. He owns the snowmobiles. He knew the people. This was all his idea. I was along for the ride. We had been having trouble. We went through the holiday season, got along pretty good. He wanted to do this. Gotcha. I went with him because
so I
he wanted
understand
to
that
do
that's
this.
your rationale. Now, Mr. Kaufman, you're going to explain to me, sir, why you shouldn't be responsible for this airlift.
Well, because Miss Lesser and I didn't discuss the agreement on this helicopter deal. That was all her idea.
How much money did you give her, sir?
I gave her $350 so far.
You said $250.
No, I said $350.
Did you? Maybe I read it wrong.
Maybe
He's
I read it
only
wrong.
paid $250.
$350, Your Honor.
Yes, you said you gave her $350 in cash. Can you prove it to me that you gave her $350 instead of $250?
Other than what I documented for my first payment was just approximately the end of March. And
how much did you give her?
$250 there.
Yeah.
And then on April 9th, another $100. And then on April, no, and then that was it.
And when did he give you, according to you, $250?
I have a calendaring of every time that I have talked to Chip. This started, I have certified letters.
You're bothering me.
Okay.
You're annoying me.
All right. I talked to him on March 28th.
Miss Lesser.
He paid me on the 17th of April $250, which I went out to his work and picked up because he has a problem.
Fine. Now you answered my question.
Okay.
Okay. You may have been a guest on the job. I'm speaking. You may have been a guest on the trip. However, you have the same ability that he does to call and check on the weather for the trip.
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't do that. The two of you chose, according to you, to get out because you had been out of work for a week, plus the fact that you had a 15-year-old son who required care. And it would seem to me that this was an unanticipated expense. So irrespective of the fact that you were a guest and there was a trip on him, this was an unanticipated cost. It would seem to me that I agree with you that you both discussed being airlifted out of there because you had been there already almost a week longer than you anticipated, and that it's a cost that should be borne between the two of you. So half the cost for him after he's paid his $250 is $725. I'm entering a judgment accordingly. Thank you very much.
Parties are excused when they step out.
This is pretty typical, I think, for the men today. They have no integrity.
I'm not quite sure why she didn't think I was going to pay her.
He lived with me for 9 months, paid no rent.
Please.
Mr. Barr, you and the defendant worked together, and according to your complaint, you had an argument with him, and during the course of that argument, he assaulted you, he punched you. You want to be compensated?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Baum said it is true that you did have an argument. However, you were the one who was the first to use your hands, and he just reacted. So he was really acting in self-defense, which is your claim.
Yes.
How old are you?
20.
And you, sir?
28.
Where do you work?
For a sub shop.
How long have you worked there?
4 months. At this particular restaurant.
How long have you worked for the company?
3 years.
And you manage this restaurant?
Yes, ma'am. General manager.
And Mr. Baum, how long did you work at this particular restaurant?
Worked there for about 2 months.
2 months?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Barr was your boss?
Yes.
Okay. What kind of work did you do there?
Sandwich artist. Sandwich artist.
Sandwich artist?
I made the sandwiches.
Sandwich artist? When did this argument take place?
5/22 of this year.
What time?
I'd say about 1:30.
1:30 is lunchtime, so you must have been busy.
Real busy.
Real busy. So tell me what happened, Mr. Barr.
Being the manager, I usually generally don't work on the weekends.
But seeing as I had hired...
Listen to me. What I want you to do is, I want you to look at me when you're testifying. I don't want you to look over there. I don't want you to look over there. I don't want you to look... I don't want you to look at me. And I want you to answer my question, which is, what happened on May 22nd, 2004, at approximately 1:30 in the afternoon?
I went back to the restaurant, and I made a beeline toward Chris, which was a new employee.
You went back to the restaurant, which I assume meant that you left the restaurant at some point.
Yes.
When had you arrived at the restaurant?
Open, 8 o'clock in the morning.
And what time did you leave?
About 10:30 to go make the bank deposit for the earnings for the day before.
And what time did you return?
About 12:30.
Took you 2 hours to make a deposit?
I was doing personal matters. I wasn't scheduled to work that day.
Okay. So you got back at 12:30. And when you got back at 12:30, what happened?
I had asked Chris how the day was going. It was his first day. I'd asked him how...
First day?
As working as an employee for the store.
You're Chris?
Yes, ma'am.
Step up. So you said to Chris, that's you, raise your hand. You said to Chris, who was a new employee?
Mm-hmm.
This gentleman was a
yes.
New employee. You said, how are things going?
Exactly. How you liking it? Are you picking things up? Is Nick and the other girl showing you stuff?
Okay. And Chris said?
Nothing positive toward Nick. They're not getting along. Nick's telling me he's not doing stuff right. He's ready to walk out.
You mean Chris is ready to leave?
Chris is ready to walk out. Nick's having an attitude. And earlier that morning, I observed Nick having an attitude toward customers. I knew there was something on his chest. I figured it would just shake it off as the day went on. But obviously it didn't. It progressed.
So what happened next?
I asked the other girl who was working there, what has she seen? Well, what's going on?
I don't want you to tell me what she said.
Exactly. Well, anyway, I asked another staff member what they thought of the situation. They shook their head, walked away. They didn't want no part of any of the nonsense. I had then started to walk up to the register. I noticed that Nick was being rudely toward an elderly lady he was cashing out. I asked Nick
what was he saying to her?
Just the tone in the voice, not a typical friendly restaurant attitude that you'd want someone to have at this particular establishment. We up-talk friendly, courteous, smile.
So he was being short?
To say the least.
Okay. Well, I have to envision what you're saying, sir, because you're not being more articulate. You want to try to explain better what you observed with regard to this elderly
Just
woman?
his body language and his tone of his voice.
Okay. So, what happened next?
I asked him to leave the restaurant. I said, Nick, please leave. Get out. I wasn't firing him. I just wanted him out the restaurant that day. Obviously, there was something bothering him that day. He was causing friction among the other staff members. He was also being short with the customers, having an attitude. I thought it was the best business decision for the establishment to remove Nick from operations that particular day.
And at that time, he had been working for the place for about 4 months?
Yes, ma'am.
And had you had trouble with him before?
No.
So this was an unusual occurrence?
That's what I was telling you. Something was obviously bothering him that day.
Okay, good. So you told him to leave. Good
Exactly.
idea. What happened?
I continued to cash somebody out. Just as I closed the cash register door, turned my back, he punches me in the mouth. Didn't see it coming. It was over my shoulder. It was a sucker punch. He drilled me in the mouth pretty hard. He began to start to swing other hands at me. I was able to block him. Eventually, somehow we got into a stance, wrestled. My first instance was to get him away from the glass, away from the knives, away from the customers, because meanwhile, the line's out the door. There's all these people in the establishment, and this is what they're saying. They're saying Nick attacking the manager. I got Nick out into the lobby. I led up. As I led him up, I had blood going down. I went like this, tried to get my bearings straight. What's going on? Why am I bleeding? And next thing you know, Nick and Chris were running down the street like two little girls.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What happened after you pushed him in the back?
He turned around and scratched me like a girl.
Well, didn't you report it to the police, sir?
I'm a felon. I'm not going to get arrested for someone fighting with me.
What kind of felony?
2 criminal mischief and 2 grand theft.
And later today,
You say, because she breached the agreement, I should be able to use these songs for my own purposes in the future.
He can't do that. That's my melody.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sandwich store manager Craig Barr says former employee Nick Baum punched him in the mouth at work. Nick says Craig slapped his hand.
What kind of injury did you suffer, Mr. Barr?
I was treated at the emergency room for 4 stitches inside and outside of my lip. It seems to be that when he hit me, my teeth went through my bottom lip.
Had 4 stitches.
4 stitches, and I need to go back for plastic laser surgery once all the scar tissue settles, and then they can see exactly how they can make this to be not a permanent injury.
Okay, who is this?
This is a witness. Her name's Shannon. She was there that day.
All right, Mr. Baum, I'd like you can sit down. I'd like you to tell me your version of the events. You were having a bad day. Why were you having a bad day, Mr. Baum?
Because Christopher Struss was not up to date on his job. He wasn't doing it properly.
But he was a new employee, Mr. Baum.
I know. That's the whole thing. You know, friends can't work together.
So he was your friend?
Yes, we are friends. Before that, the whole thing, we had picked him up from Port Charlotte to bring him in.
So you got him the job?
It was his idea for the job.
But he didn't know Chris, did he?
Yes, he did.
You knew Chris from before?
I knew him from the streets.
You told him about Chris?
Exactly.
Well, I didn't tell him that he needed a job. He come over to stay the weekend.
At your house?
At his house. I was living with him.
Oh.
That's not necessarily true, Your Honor.
Yes, it is.
Just a second. Mr. Baum was living at your house?
I wouldn't say that. He was staying there. He was kicked out of his previous residence for his hostile attitude toward the people he was staying with.
Okay. Just a minute.
And
he was staying at your house?
I guess so.
I still have his house key.
Take your hands out of your pockets. He was staying at your house, and Chris was staying at your house?
He had asked to stay for the weekend.
Okay, fine. So now he's back at the shop, Mr. Baum. So now tell me what happened with Mr. Barr.
When he had come in, me and Christopher confronted him about what we were talking about, him not doing his job right. He didn't want to hear it. He ignored it. He walked straight up and down the line. Then come to me while I'm proceeding to help a customer. Not no old woman, a gentleman. He then smacked my hand, pushed in front of me, told me to get the hell out.
How did he do that, sir?
I'm standing here at the register.
Chris, stand up over there. You're standing next to the register.
Say this is me. This is me. He's on the register, helping a customer.
No. Who's on the register?
Myself.
You're on the register.
Say he's me.
He's playing you.
Yes.
Listen to me. He's you. He's at the register now.
And I'm Mr. Barr.
And you're Mr. Barr. So make like you're at the register.
He come up, smack my hand.
Oh, show me how he did that. Okay, he pushed your hand away.
No, he hit it. He hit it hard with force.
And he said, get out. He didn't ask him.
I didn't ask you anything. You went like this. Pushed your hand up.
And then squeezed in front of me between the register as I'm helping.
Okay. And then what happened, sir?
I pushed him, stepped back.
How did you put? No, show me how you pushed him. Okay, so you pushed him from the back.
And then.
And the shot. I did. Do you hear? I didn't ask you a thing. And then what happened after you pushed him in the back?
He turned around and scratched me like a girl.
How did he scratch you?
From the left top corner of my forehead across to my bottom right eye.
With his nails?
Nails and all. I still got a faint scar.
Well, didn't you report it to the police, sir?
Nope.
Why not?
So I'm a felon. I'm not going to get arrested for someone fighting with me.
What do you mean you're a felon?
I have felony on my record.
What kind of felony?
4 felonies of 3rd degree, 2 criminal mischief, and 2 grand theft.
Criminal mischief is usually not a felony, sir.
When its damages consisted over $500.
What kind of damages, sir?
Damages of property.
And you left?
I left. After.
Well,
But now, see, we're skipping a large part here. After he scratched me, I then hit him. He fell down. He's like, oh, we're supposed to be boys. I then went to walk out. He grabbed me by my leg. I fell over. He tried to get on top of me. I threw him on the wall and walked out.
Do we have any photographs, sir, of the damage to your leg?
I got photographs and all the necessary paperwork. I also have a claim number from the Largo Police Department. They wouldn't release the actual police report because they're a little slow in their paperwork and it's not public record yet. Your Honor, just for the record.
Step up, madam. Tell me your name.
I'm Shannon Levantia.
Levantia?
17-year-old girlfriend. I apologize.
Miss Levantia, what capacity you were at the restaurant on the 22nd of May, 2004?
I was there getting a sandwich.
Tell me what happened with regard to any hitting, slapping.
All that I had seen was Nicholas hit Craig. I didn't see Craig swing on Nick at all. Then they wrestled out into the lobby, and that's all I had seen.
Is it possible, Nick, that you were disrespectful or less than courteous towards customers on that day?
We had 20 customers in that line.
I'm just asking you a question.
I was being straightforward with them to get them in and out. I was not trying to spend any time with them. I was not in any way uncourteous
listen
with
to
them.
me very carefully, sir. I didn't ask you for excuses. I said, is it possible that you were being less than courteous to the customers who were there?
Not with the customers, no.
Okay. When was your last arrest, Nick?
November 23rd, 2002.
Did you spend any time in jail?
9 months.
When did you get out?
It was actually 215 days. That'd be June 26, 2003.
And when did you go to work for Mr. Barr?
I can't recall what the actual date was.
What date did he start working for you?
Middle of April. He had worked in another restaurant.
How long do you know him, Mr. Barr?
From the original store.
Only from the original store through business?
Yes, ma'am.
So you gave him an opportunity?
I gave him a second chance to come back into the company.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened at your last job, Nick?
I walked out on him.
Why?
I didn't like his work, and I was paid too little.
And despite that, Mr. Barr gave you another opportunity to...
More money, yeah.
So he evidently liked you.
Yeah, because I was good at what I did.
So I'm trying to think of why Mr. Barr, who was a perfectly nice guy,
No.
who gave you to you...
No, he wasn't. Not exactly.
He wasn't. Well, according to you, he was.
There was a lot of confrontations up to the point where I wound up living with him.
You say goodbye. You're a big guy. You spend 9 months in prison. You know what it's like to have to fend off people and take care of yourself and be responsible for your own safety, right? You know all about that. So if somebody is being not nice to you, big boy, pack up and you leave. You chose not to do that. So I don't want to hear that Mr. Barr
That choice was not an option until the end. There was no real...
What do you mean a choice was not an option? You mean you were an indentured servant?
That's not
We
what
don't
I'm
have
trying to
indentured
say.
servitude in this country anymore, sir. You have free will, which means if somebody isn't nice to you, you leave. Nick, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I believe that maybe he knocked your hand off the cash register. That doesn't justify punching him in the face, causing him to have 4 stitches and a permanent scar on his lip, which are reflected in here. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all. Step out. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
No comment.
I wasn't really at fault. He put his hands on me. What can I say? You know, if I knew it was going to be like this, I would have hit him more than once.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Jones versus Dunson. Step forward, please.
School teacher Cheryl Jones is suing studio owner David Dunson for a refund for a children's recording session. Cheryl says David never finished the job.
Looks like we got a lot of show and tell here, but let me see if I can simplify this. Ms. Jones, you hired Mr. Dunston for the agreed-upon price of $1,000.
Correct.
To create musical arrangements for children's songs and to use his recording studio in order to record those songs.
Right.
You paid him, according to you, a total of $650.
Right.
Towards the $1,000. Those songs, according to you, that were never completed because he kept moving the studios. Mr. Dunston says that he wants to be able to use that music because he's never been fully paid. Is that right?
Correct.
You say, well, I paid him $650 and I can't use the music and record it because he has the copyright.
We
right?
agreed upon $650 as the agreement. We changed the agreement because he continued to move and he wasn't doing a professional job. So $650 was the new agreement just to use the tracks.
Well, but what you're suing for here before me is your $650 back.
Right.
You want your money back because you didn't get what you bargained for, right?
That's correct.
He wants to be able to record the music because he's copyrighted it already, correct?
I did not.
No.
You've copyrighted the music already.
They're copywritten through my machine when she comes
I
in
don't
and
care
posts.
whether they're copywritten through a machine. She can't do it without your permission, and you have already executed something through a machine so that you have this music copyrighted, according to you.
No, Your Honor.
You don't have copyrights to the music?
No, there's no copyrights with the Congress. The copyrights is when she comes into the studio and it records the date and time when she comes in and recorded her music. It copyrights it then. And then when we finish the song, she takes it and we sign the agreement for her personally, exclusively to use the copyrights.
Have you done that yet?
No, ma'am.
Good. Do you want to record this music for any other purpose? According to you, you do.
Yes.
You say...
those are
Shut up!
I'm sorry.
You say, because she breached the agreement, I should be able to use these songs for my own purposes in the future.
He can't do that. That's my melody.
Well,
he cannot use that with my melody. I sang those songs to him. He created the music around me singing it. That's my melody. He can't use that.
You're suing him for $650 back. I'm going to give you your $650 back. You didn't get what you bargained for. That's all I have to do. Do you understand that, sir? She didn't get what she bargained for. You have to give her back her money. Now, whether you can use these songs or she can use these songs, I don't have to deal with it. She's suing for $650, and you didn't give her a complete track of children's music.
I gave her all 12, Your Honor.
And she's... No. You say he or she breached the agreement. And I should be able to use those songs if I want to. Maybe you can, and maybe you can't. I don't have to go there. That's what you say in your defense, sir. So she gets her $650 back. You can hum, he can hum, and I can go home. Thank you very much.
Why you guys excused when you step out?
I paid him to do a job, and he didn't do it.
She wanted 12 songs for $650, and I refused.
He wanted money on the back end, and that wasn't going to happen.
12 songs is not worth $650.
Well, I'll just get somebody else.
This is your son. Your son's name is Joseph?
Yes.
Ms. Conti, this is your son, and his name is Joey.
Yes, Your Honor.
And your son, Joey, along with several friends, these two people among them?
They were there with us.
They egged Mrs. Stevenson's house and car. Ms. Stevenson says that in addition to doing damage to her home and her car, when you were advised about it, you said that you would take care of whatever damage was caused by your son and his friends, and then didn't do it. So she's suing you for the cost of cleaning up the house and car. Is that right?
3 cars.
3 cars.
And a garage.
And I assume you have photographs of the damage?
Yes, I do, and I also have a videotape, too, that shows everything.
Of what?
Of the defendant and his friends egging the house.
Can I see the tape
Sure you
before
can.
we even start? You know, picture's worth 1,000 words. Let's take a look. Mr. Conti, young Mr. Conti over here, he doesn't deny that he was there.
No.
And even threw an egg or two. Is that right, Mr. Conti?
Yes, Your Honor, I threw one, but it hit my own car. Actually.
Well, that was...
It was so long ago, I just know it didn't hit anything.
Joey, say nothing else.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
It's on 3 times. That's the first card. This is the second one. It does a repeat, and then it has highlights. The first car is his 2 witnesses were in that car.
Why did you become involved in this vandalism, Joey?
Well, it was an ongoing game between me and Joe, I guess, because he had done this to our house before in the past, and also like on Halloween. I've seen him egg people before out of his car.
When was that?
About a couple months before.
Now, when Joseph egged your house, did you report it to the police?
No. We don't have video cameras, and we didn't have proof. We don't have...
What do you mean? Just a second. If you didn't have proof, then how do you know he did it?
Because I came outside while they were doing it, and I saw him drive up the street, and my father followed him.
Just a second. That's proof.
Your Honor, we...
You don't need a video camera.
Your Honor, we just went out. We hosed our garage. We hosed the car. Everything came off. We chalked it up to harmless pranks.
Yeah.
I didn't make a big issue out of it.
Fine. You didn't see him throw an egg at your house, did you?
That's correct.
Right. And since I don't believe him, that he threw one egg that came back and hit him in the face, I don't believe him either.
I threw it over, I was driving, and I just threw it like this, and I couldn't even make it to the house. It was pretty far away.
I don't care.
Okay.
If you tell the truth all the time, you don't have to have a good memory.
I'm just
Did anybody ever say that to you?
Yes.
Do you understand what it means?
Yes.
Good. So you and your friends are sitting around whose house when you decide to go on this egg spree?
My friend Darren's house.
Where is Darren?
He lives just up the street from
Not
Joe.
one of these two people.
No, he's not here. He didn't come today because...
I don't care why he didn't come. He didn't come today because he was pregnant. I don't care.
Okay.
You are sitting around Darren's house. How many people are sitting around Darren's house?
There's about 6 of us.
And how many of you have cars?
2 of us.
And how many cars were loaded up to go over to his house?
2. And we only had 4 eggs with us.
I don't believe you! Okay. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
You have photographs of the house?
I have it of the cars in the garage.
I'll take a look at those.
And I have estimates.
No, I just want to look at the photographs.
Your Honor, we have witnesses here also who can attest
Which
to
witnesses?
the 4 eggs.
These 2 idiots?
The gentleman here.
These 2 idiots? I'm not interested to hear what they have to say yet. Would you ask her to show me where on this car she's pointing to as a damage? I mean, I'm looking at 2 spots on your garage.
You see the egg on the garage,
Here
yes.
and here.
Now, the black car with the spots on it, that's the rear end of the Yukon. The other cars were repaired. I'm just showing you the cars repaired.
I don't see $2,000 worth of damage, madam. I'm just telling you.
Oh, well, I have...
I'm telling you, I don't see $2,000 worth of damage. Shh, listen to me carefully.
Okay.
I don't see $2,000 worth of damage. I'm not excusing him. I'm not finished with him yet, as a matter of fact. But I'm not seeing $2,000 worth of damage. Now, let's get back to you. Put your papers down.
Sorry.
What you are complaining about, and I assume your mother is complaining about, is why you are being singled out to pay for this damage rather than going after all of the other boys.
Exactly.
Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, I'm going to explain that to you.
Okay.
When you commit a crime, you're not entitled to be treated like everybody else who commits the same crime. Let me give you an example. I'm going to go back into my history. And Officer Petrie Hawkins Bird here is going to affirm what I've said because I know he's a truthful person. When I was a judge in the family court and I would get teenagers who committed crimes, much more serious ones than this, although this is annoying, and very often there would be a group of boys who would commit a robbery. And because of the way the law is written, sometimes the cases were assigned to a different judge. One judge would try one of the boys, another judge would try the second boy, another judge would try the first boy. And every time one of the boys got me, they would say, "That's not fair. I want somebody else. I want his judge."
Understand.
And I would say, "You got the luck of the draw. You got me. It doesn't have to be equal. Everybody is equal in the eyes of the law. But that doesn't mean that you have to be treated equally."
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She is very, very Sue happy.
Maybe she came after you because you did something wrong.
Yeah, and we did do something. Sorry.
And later today...
Her father didn't approve of you.
Yeah.
Like what?
Got arrested.
For what?
Selling weed.
Selling weed?
Yeah.
You mean selling drugs?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Deneen Stevenson says 18-year-old Joey Cotti egged her house and car. Joey says he wasn't the only one.
She picked you.
Okay.
And she picked you maybe because she doesn't like the color of your eyes. Quiet. I'm making a point here. She picked you. She says, "I don't want to have to go out and hunt down his mother and his mother and his mother and go to court 4 different times. I want you to pay for all the damage that was caused to my house."
I think one of the reasons she picked me, Your Honor, is because she is very, very Sue happy. And we have evidence of her and her past, even from her own family members that have moved away just to get away from her.
And she's been involved with some of the other kids before, so I think she came after me because I don't really know her.
Maybe she came after you because you did something wrong.
Yeah, and we did do something. Sorry, we did do something wrong, and
What difference does it?
We admit it.
What do you want?
Your Honor, he admitted it from the very start when the police called him.
Then why did you go and get this whole list of other people she sued?
Because the damage does not warrant.
I don't care about that, sir. I don't care if she sued everybody from A to M in the phone book. Do you understand? That's her prerogative. And she wouldn't have sued you if you didn't do something wrong.
Yes, sir.
You want to be treated like these boys. According to you, she accepted their apology and they...
No.
No, just a second. According to you, and I'm going to read what you said in your answer. She said...
Your Honor, she asked...
I'm speaking. She even knows the driver of the second car whose apologies she accepted.
His parents came to my house.
Just a second.
Okay.
Do I look like I need your help?
No.
She can accept everybody's apology but yours. Maybe she doesn't like people with hazel eyes.
We tried to apologize, Your Honor, and she said my mom went to go apologize, and we got the whole team ready to go apologize, and I was ready, and I wrote a letter and everything to go apologize to her. And the day we were going to go apologize, my mother called her and she said, "Oh, that won't be necessary. We're going to sue you now." So this is what happened.
Just a second. How much after this incident were you going to apologize?
Oh, within the week. Within the week.
Just a second. What about the next day?
Your Honor, I didn't
I'm speaking. Not you. Him. Why didn't you go the next day?
Because we just didn't.
What do you mean, because you just didn't?
We had to get everyone together.
What do you mean, because you just didn't?
Because I wanted to get everybody together. Because I was basically the only one that admitted to doing this.
Just a minute. When did you contact the police?
The very day, that same day.
When did the police contact you?
A couple weeks after.
Not before?
No.
Did you tell him that you had contacted the police?
Yes, I confronted him in school.
When?
Like, after I realized it was his car when we watched the tape that night, so the following school day.
Step up here. You're Joseph.
Yes.
You told him the following day that you had contacted the police, or the following school day?
Yes, the following school day.
And you just wanted to get everybody together before you went to apologize. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
But he had already told you that he had contacted the police.
Yes.
Right. You get it.
And that day I got everybody together. And we were my mom called, and we were ready to go apologize. And she
Would you have been
yes.
ready to go over and apologize if they hadn't called the police?
Yes. I would have apologized.
What catharsis did you have between the time that you egged his property and the time that you were prepared to apologize?
After he came up to me at school.
And told you that the police had been called?
He didn't tell me the police had been called that. No, he didn't tell me the police had been called.
What did he say?
He just said, he came up to me with a bunch of his friends, like they were trying to, they came up to me, like, aggressively. And they were like, well, did you do this? And I'm like, yes. And then that's all. They never said the police had been called. They just walked away after that.
Well, why would you want to apologize after that, Joey?
Because they were so angry about it.
You owe for the damage to their property. It's not $2,000. Get over it. It's not going to happen. Do I make myself clear?
I have my estimates right here.
I don't care. You can take the estimates and wallpaper with them. I see what your pictures show.
No, those after.
Then that is your problem. I already told you that you can take the estimates and you can wallpaper your bathroom with them. I've looked at the photographs and I don't see $2,000 worth of damage. You're not going to retire on this incident. It's ridiculous because you're a smart lady.
I don't need to retire on it.
I'm speaking. What he did was bad enough. When you exaggerate it and don't tell the truth, you're no better off than he is.
I'm not exaggerating.
You are exaggerating, madam, because anybody who calls the police because they have $2,000 worth of damage to their house and they call the police the same day, take pictures. They take pictures if they intend to pursue it, because if the police came, I'm speaking.
Okay.
And if the police came and took pictures, then you would have them. And if the police didn't take pictures, then you make sure that you have them in order to preserve whatever rights you want to have in a lawsuit. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $300. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
My son is never out on Halloween because we're home as a family handing out candy.
I guess it's over now since they take things very, very serious.
Oh, through the school year, she was a troublemaking mom.
I had offered Mrs. Stevenson $500 to just forget the whole thing because she made my life a living hell.
Why am I upset? Because they're liars.
She refused it. She said she couldn't accept that. So I just told her, do what you have to do then.
The kids did the damage. They don't have to pay for it. But there'll be another time.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Forzetting versus Hannah. Step forward.
Construction worker Tony Forzetting is suing his son's ex-girlfriend, 18-year-old food server Nikki Hannah, for unpaid rent and utility bills. Tony says when Nikki's father kicked her out, he let her move in.
Is this your son?
Yes, ma'am.
Is this the one who was in jail?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Forzetting, this young lady was this young man's girlfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
And how old are you?
18.
And for some bizarre reason, you made the foolish error of allowing her to move into your house because she and your son were boyfriend and girlfriend, right?
Correct.
And at this point, you say she owes you for rent and other expenses that she was supposed to pay for the 4 months that she was living with you. That's
Yes,
what the
ma'am.
case is about. How old are you?
20.
And your name?
Stephen Forzetting.
Stephen, how old was Miss Hannah when you met her?
16.
And how old was she when she moved into your house?
18.
Why?
Because her and her dad got into it and he threw her out.
What?
Because her and her father got into it and he threw her out.
Got into it?
Yeah,
What did they get into it about?
about me.
Her father didn't approve of you.
Yeah.
Did he have reason not to approve of you?
Yeah, because I was not being that great.
Like what?
Got arrested.
For what?
Selling weed.
What?
Selling weed.
You mean selling drugs?
Yes, ma'am.
How many times were you arrested for selling drugs?
Just once.
So that's why her father didn't like you.
Yes, ma'am.
Sounds right to me.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was 2003, Christmas Eve. It was her birthday also. She got in a big fight with her dad. Her dad's thrown her out several times. I guess she didn't want to follow his rules. She was still going to school at the time. She was in her senior year. I have a daughter that's 17 at the time. I didn't want to see her on the streets.
Good. Sounds very nice. And she was going to school. Is she a full-time student in high school?
Yes, she was.
How did you expect her to pay you rent?
Well, I didn't ask her to pay me rent right away, Your Honor, when she first moved in. I told her when she got in, got a part-time job. Those would be the rules in my house to stay in school.
Did she get a part-time job?
She did, yeah,
When?
2 weeks down the road. I would say within a month and a half.
So sometime in February?
Yes, Your Honor.
So in February, did you ask her for any money?
I said, Nikki, you got a job. We had an agreement when you moved in. I'm not pressuring you. She indicated to me that she wasn't making that much. I said, that's fine. It's only a part-time job. Just give us what you can until you can get caught up or you know, down the road. And...
So, did she ever give you any money?
No, Your Honor.
So what are you suing her now for?
Well, come April 24th, we had the conversation again about paying rent. This time we approached it with an agreement. We had words.
At this time, was your son in the house?
No, he was not.
He was in jail?
Yes, he was.
So after your son was taken to jail, that's when you went and approached her about signing an agreement?
No, the agreement was signed several months down the road.
Oh, show it to me.
I have the agreement right here.
Can I see it,
It
please?
wasn't written until the 24th, which is when I moved out.
I'm talking about, sir, I'm not talking about the agreement that you wanted her to sign in April. You said that she signed one before?
No, she did not. It was
Of
all
course.
verbal before, Your Honor.
Verbal, you had no contract with us,
No
sir.
contract, all verbal.
Contract. You didn't have a verbal contract with us, sir. Your agreement was when you get a job, you'll start paying us something. And then when she got a job, a couple of months later, you said take care of your own bills first and then pay us what you can. Well, she couldn't pay anything. That's not a contract. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Very good. Now, you took her in, and you took her in because her father threw her out because of your son. When she came into your house, did they share a room?
Sure did, Your Honor.
Mm-hmm. Don't open your house to strangers, sir. It's a bad idea. Your case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, everything was fine until I didn't go visit him one weekend, and then everything went downhill from there.
My mom and her got into it because my mom couldn't visit me. She didn't come visit me.
They went off on me, and so I moved out, and didn't talk to him after that.
That's between her and my parents. I mean, that's not something I got